Hey everyone, welcome back to Seeking What They Sought. We're doing a thing that's a little different today. You'll see that I'm joined by just one other person today. The rest of the crew isn't here, but I wanted to do a one-on-one with Sean Sutton. And Sean, by the way, I've actually met just a few months ago when we went to the GC in St. Louis. It was exciting for our team to meet you and see your booth there and just to meet you in person. But our conversations have gone even before that, all the way back to March of 2025. When we had a chance to just, I actually reached out to you, I believe, about the idea of collaborating since your company was building a sanctuary set. And I'm not going to say the word Legos, right? So when you're not building with official Legos, Sean, help me out really quick. What are we calling these building blocks when it's not a name brand Lego?
Yeah, so usually just like building blocks, bricks.
Building blocks or bricks.
The goal is to have it, the term be, the new generic term will be Bible bricks.
Yeah.
Right?
Bible bricks.
There you go.
Okay. So your company creates Bible bricks, building bricks, and you're making sets from the Bible. And I learned about you. I think my wife actually showed me an ad of yours, I think, is where I learned first about what you guys were doing. And we were just getting into the Sanctuary series and building that up. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. I'd love to see what you're producing and what you're creating. And that led to, a great partnership for the past year or so. So we've had a great time just learning what you guys are doing there. So I thought today we wanted to just share a little bit about what you're about, especially because I think we're looking at even talking to some other people about as Adventist creators, whether it's, toys or music or animation. We've seen a lot of really cool content creators starting to just pop up within our church. And so we wanted to feature you, just highlight the cool things that you're doing, what we've seen you doing on the back end for those that don't know. So Sean, first off, you've created a company, like I said, called Bible Bricks. And why did you do that? Was there just a day that you just decided, okay, instead of doing a normal job. I don't know. What did you study to become? Like, you went to college or what did you do?
Well, I went to college for 1 year. I don't even know, maybe like about 7 or 8 years ago. I went to college for one year, but then I dropped out because I like smoking weed more than going to class.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that was in my dark ages season of life.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, I'm learning something new. I mean, we could unpack that for a long time, just like your past and stuff. But for the sake of today, so you drop out of college. What leads you then to the idea of doing something within the Bible sphere or making something creative? What led to that?
Yeah. So of course, that was, like I said, about 8+ years ago. Eventually, God brought me back to Him through His really awesome experience. God did some amazing things for me, but eventually fell back in love with God again through Christ. And I love studying theology and all that. And I've done some preaching off and on, like different independent camp meetings and that kind of thing. And so last year in October, I was at a camp meeting and I gave a few little messages, and of course my PowerPoints were fire. And so the adults and like older kids were able to pay attention and keep up. But a lot of the younger kids were like super bored and counting ceiling tiles. And then
classic. Yeah.
Yeah. And even though my PowerPoint, my slides are great, I don't know, but I went outside and one of my younger friends had brought his Lego Minecraft set. And he was actually trying to build the tabernacle with it. And a bunch of kids were like super into it and like really engaged. I'm like, dang, like he's doing super effectively what is super hard for me and others to do, right? He has these kids' minds engaged on the things of God and Scripture in a really fun, creative way. And so that's when the light bulb came on. I'm like, man, is this a thing? And there's a few other small companies doing Christian Lego type thing, but I wasn't super impressed with what a lot of them are doing. And yeah, so that's when the idea happened, and I just went for it.
So did you have any prior experience in have you ever tried building a business or creating something like an entity before? This is just your pilot experience because it's one thing to say I'm going to start building stuff for my local church and just do fun things. You've created something that now fast forward today, is shipping worldwide as a product. That's no easy task to just go from zero to I now, create something that people around the world can purchase. What inspired that to go to that level for this?
Yeah, so my past business experience, I've always done a lot of sales stuff. Like I sold knives in middle school, I sold vacuum cleaners in college, all that kind of stuff. And then just throughout life, I've just picked up random skills like making websites. I tried starting like a print-on-demand t-shirt business. It wasn't very successful.
Okay.
And so all of that, plus then a lot of research going on Reddit, seeing what people do to make their ideas happen. I had hired freelancers and stuff before, so I was familiar with that. But yeah, really it was just finding the right information, different books, website articles to help figure out, okay, how do you even do this thing? ChatGPT has been super helpful. It's like, hey, what do I do with here?
Yeah, of course.
Not always super accurate, so you definitely have to fact check it because
right.
Yeah, it hallucinates. But yeah, that's pretty much how it got started.
I mean, it's super impressive, Sean. I know that, obviously when we look at this specifically as followers of God, we credit him for like, hey, God, if this is what you want, and I know that you have your testimony of coming back to him and wanting, what you create to glorify him. But I mean, it's just really cool. And again, major highlight to you for taking that idea and just briefly tell me a little bit about you launched Bible Bricks with your first set being a set on the sanctuary, the tabernacle from Exodus. You went from, again, I saw some of your ads and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I know that we got to know each other before you fully launched that campaign on Kickstarter, and it was kind of building up to that. And I remember tracking it because I went and, pre-ordered one of the sets for me and just thinking, oh, I hope this really does well and it should be really cool. But I'm sure there was some uncertainty there for you. I think you had originally a $10,000 goal. Is that right?
Correct.
So you had a $10,000 goal on Kickstarter. And what, by the end of the Kickstarter campaign, did you end up collecting from that? What did you end up with?
Yeah, we raised pretty much, I think it was about $245,000 by the end of it.
That's nuts, man. Was there a mix of obvious excitement, right? That there's just, what is that feeling like to go from, yeah, I hope we get 10,000 and you get to that, you're seeing this number go up and up, right? You're seeing all the people pour in and just the engagement with this. What was that experience like for you?
Super encouraging, man. Because the 10,000 goal was pretty much like, if we raise 10,000, we can make this product happen and fulfill it to people, but we can't start a business, right? It's like, we can't, there won't be enough profit margin to do anything with just that. So it's kind of like, God, like, if this is really what you want me to do, like, make it blow up. And of course, I'm really hoping like, yeah, I hope we make, $50,000 or $100,000
Sure.
be amazing. And yeah, it was just amazing seeing how God blessed it. And it was amazing talking to all sorts of people from all different denominations and faith traditions even about their interest in the sanctuary, the tabernacle. So yeah, it was amazing.
So you bringing that up, right? You've had conversations and you've worked with people, freelancers and others that have helped, Bible Bricks, although you're the mind behind that creation, you've worked with other people to bring this together, right? It took other people, whether it was in the advertising realm or the manufacturing realm, to make this come all together, right? But like I said earlier, it's no easy task to just say, hey, I want to create something and have it ship worldwide. There's so many components and pieces that go into creating a business that can actually last. That's very difficult to do. So I'm just curious, you started with the sanctuary. Okay, now we're on an Adventist podcast, right? But and you are an Adventist, but your goal with Bible Bricks is not just to, do things for Adventists. You like you just said, you want to make this a reach for everyone. You want this to be accessible to everyone. So you started with the sanctuary, though. What was your reason behind starting with the sanctuary?
To be completely honest, the reason I started with it was just a spur of the moment, like, because that's what my friend was trying to build. And of course, I'm at like an Adventist camp meeting. So I'm like, yeah, this is a great idea. I didn't really think through the fact that the tabernacle isn't the most popular thing in all of Christendom. So
Yeah.
I just went for it. But then like kind of the justification I gave myself for like sticking with this one is that, well, if I can make the most boring part of the Bible interesting for other people, then like
Right.
anything should be a breeze.
Yeah. And in some ways too, it's a thing that, although you mentioned there are other maybe Christian or Bible-based brick building companies, I don't know if I've seen any that have done what you just produced through the sanctuary, right? So you did choose a topic or a theme that hasn't really been done in quite that way. So that makes sense too. And the challenge, right? You chose something that, I'll just be honest, for me growing up, the sanctuary was not a topic I loved. The whole team at Seeking What They Sought, we've talked about this. This was not something we loved as kids. It was a slow burn. It wasn't until college and post-college that we started getting into the topic and seeing, wait, there's something here. There's something really beautiful that the sanctuary symbolizes. And we started digging deeper into, the meanings behind the sanctuary. What has been your experience, I guess, for you, right? You grew up, now just clarify for me, I'm ignorant on this end. Did you grow up Adventist? Did you go through any Christian schooling or go to church with family? Like, what was your experience just religion-wise? So, like, what was your background there?
Yeah, so I was raised Southern Baptist, went to a Baptist private school from, kindergarten to high school. So that was my experience. Really, really great time. Some amazing people there that I'm still friends with today, a lot of them too. And yeah, great experience there. My picture of God was a little rough. I was always afraid of like burning in hell for all of eternity. So that was terrifying growing up. But then, like I mentioned, went to college, kind of threw my faith away, got into drugs and partying and all that stuff. And then pretty much God let me reap what I sowed, living a self-destructive life. And so he pretty much allowed me to just, my situation to like combust and, really just made me humble again and show, okay, I definitely don't know what's going on. And then I started researching like New Age stuff and all this, but then digging into Jesus as like a historical figure. And then some of the prophecies around, when he came and all these things are really incredible and even things I hadn't heard growing up. So then I watched a video on YouTube. It was like From Babylon to America. It was this classic Adventist prophecy thing, with all this crazy imagery and, conspiracy stuff. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So, and I researched. I'm like, yeah, a lot of this really does hold up for sure. And so, that was about 7 years ago. I joined the Adventist church.
Yeah, so a lot of this is still fresh in that sense, like in the grand scheme of things. So you do actually have a heart as someone that's come into the church for just reaching everyone, right? Like finding ways to bring the Bible to them in an approachable way. You said you had that sermon where the kids were just not engaged. They were counting the tiles up on the ceiling. And as a middle school teacher, I teach at an Adventist school, I teach Bible. And so I've seen that struggle both as a kid. I was not a good Bible student. I got thrown out, kicked out of Bible class. I got kicked out of Sabbath school. I'm a pastor's kid, grew up in the Adventist church my whole life. So we come from two different backgrounds, but I think both of us, as we've become adults, see the similar problem, right? Which is engaging with the Bible in a meaningful way. And so that's really interesting hearing how you grew up with it. So the sanctuary as a topic then, growing up in a Baptist background, did that ever even, become a concept? Did you learn about the tabernacle? Was that something that you only learned in the last decade or so? When did that really pop up as a topic?
Yeah, all I can say is I don't remember ever studying it or thinking about it. I'm sure it was taught in some Bible class at some point, because it goes through the whole thing.
Right.
But it never made an impression on me. It was just this weird thing that Israel did back then is not really relevant now, so who cares? Yeah. That was kind of my mindset. So, yeah.
So but you joined Adventism. I'm guessing it's sometime in the last 7 years that when you've either heard sermons or connected with people within the church that you felt like you gained a significance for like this is talking and speaking to a much bigger thing, pointing to Jesus and the plan of salvation and all of those big themes of redemption, being in God's house, right? Dwelling with him.
Yep.
So that's something that's been more fresh to you. So in some ways, you creating this is kind of, been a fresh experience for you as well, and being a part of that. So that's interesting. I had no idea that was something that connected in such maybe a newer way for you.
Yeah, I love
in your story.
I love learning about all the symbolism, how everything in the sanctuary points to Jesus and how everything in the sanctuary can point to the Christian walk as well. That was super, it's so interesting how God teaches with pictures and object lessons, which is one of the reasons why we do what we do at Bible Bricks, because we want to follow that pattern. But, seeing how God can store mass amounts of information into these super simple pictures, all these visions and dreams and ceremonies and rituals. It's a really, really amazing mnemonic device that God has created for us. So I just wanted to share that with people. A lot of other denominations believe the exact same thing, say, yep, Jesus is the lamp. He's the light of the world. He's the bread of life, the table of showbread.
Right.
He's the Lamb of God, altar of sacrifice. A lot of people get that, but it's not really emphasized very much. And
right.
I think the tabernacle is worth emphasizing because of the way it portrays God's heart. Specifically, the main verse on the box is Exodus 25:8, where God says, "Let them make me a sanctuary, that it may dwell among them." So just that picture of a God who wants to be with us, who loves us, who likes us, who wants to be there. I think that's a really, really beautiful thing that is important for children to learn.
Yeah, it's a powerful message that, often gets ignored in larger Christianity, that theme is there. I mean, it builds a bridge, both emotionally and intellectually, that the God is the God of love he says he is. Yeah. It builds those bridges throughout the entire, story of Scripture. It's so helpful as a tool to have the sanctuary as a blueprint to connect, as you keep reading through those stories. So many light bulbs go on when you start getting the idea of the sanctuary. So I want to say I appreciate what you're doing because as someone who's taught for a little over a decade, and I've taught specifically, Bible curriculums within an Adventist school system, we've gone over the sanctuary, and it's always been my battle. Like, how do I teach this in a meaningful way, where I'm not sticking the PowerPoint up and we're just, the kids are like counting down the minutes till class can get out, right? Because that was my experience and my friends on the team here. That was our experience growing up. It wasn't meaningful. We were just memorizing the articles of furniture. We learned, how to draw the diagram of the tabernacle. And that's kind of, low level learning, right? You're not connecting it to meaningful critical thinking, like where you're reflecting on the significance. And what I appreciate about what you've done, because I just finished building it. I had my son, Olin, who's 6. He kind of helped me with it a bit too and had fun looking at it. I want to go deeper with him too on it. Now that I have it built up, it's on our table. So he sees it every time we're eating right now. I have it over here. I'm going to eventually move it to my classroom too. But right now he sees it while he's eating. And it's a spot where I can open the booklet that you have, where it's not just the instructions for building the tabernacle, but you've included verses and facts and things that connect each of the articles and the materials that are being used and all the other components of the sanctuary, just in short, easy to read sentences that are good conversation starters. So I appreciate that you guys at the company went above and beyond to not just make a product, but to actually make it a learning tool, to make it something to engage with. What's been your experience with going that extra mile? What was it that, propelled you to do that instead of just making a product? Was there a moment while you were crafting this that you had that moment of like, I have to include this in the instruction booklet?
Yeah, it just made sense to me that, and it's a really cool, like almost kind of meta thing, because God tells ancient Israel in the wilderness to build this tabernacle, and here's the instructions. And we want to give children and other people that same experience, kind of like, here's the material for the tabernacle, and here's the instructions, go build it. Because that's how God intended for us to learn about it, was through building it and seeing it visually and using all your senses. So I was just going to say it just made sense to include the verses in there. And I love the idea that, with one step, you can put bricks together with your hands and then at the same time put verses together in your mind. Kind of that connection parallel there.
Is there a specific way you hope people will use, like if a church or a Christian school or even just at home, that you'd hope they get the box, do you want them to say to little Jimmy who's 8 over here, like, hey, just go put this together? Or what would be your dream? Like if you could explain to families and schools and churches, like, hey, this is the way that this set is designed to be engaged with, what would you tell them?
Yeah, in my mind, the ideal way for people to engage with it is to do it as a family kind of project, right? So the kids can sit down with the parents and open up a bag of bricks and go one step at a time or one piece of furniture at a time and build it. And as you're building it, you should read the verses that talk about it. Not only, it says this many cubits and overlaid with gold or whatever,
right?
But also, so you read that, and then you can read about Jesus talking about how he connects himself to that symbol. So that's how I envision it. Just kids and parents going one step at a time, talking about it. We also have a QR code in the instructions to a very simple Bible study that covers some of this stuff, super basic, shows all how it points to Jesus. And yeah, so that's how I think it'd be really cool for families to do that.
Yeah. How has the response been so far? I know that not everyone has received, as we're recording this, it's still kind of in the rollout. And I know technically on your website on BibleBricks.com, it has, technically it has the pre-order button.
Yeah.
I know that there's kind of been an initial first wave of people that have received their bricks and have started building the tabernacle, but it's not been, just to correct me if I'm wrong, this hasn't been the full rollout yet where everyone has gotten their set quite yet. It's kind of been that process, right?
Correct. Wave 1 was a few weeks ago. Wave 2 will be probably around the middle of January, which that'll be for a lot of the early Kickstarter backers. And then the third and final wave will be probably in February, which is when all the inventory will arrive. It should have been here months ago, but because of manufacturing delays, which don't even get me started.
Sure.
So anyways, yes, that's how the rollout will look.
Yeah. Well, again, it's so cool. I know that we've had conversations about the manufacturing, the complications of just working with international partners and just trying to get everything to come together. So I know that you've learned a lot from that experience. And so moving forward, when you think about your goals, you talked about the why behind why you started Bible Bricks. Now that you've seen the way that it's resonated with so many people and the positive response, what is your kind of goal for Bible Bricks as a company? I'm assuming you continue to plan to not just stop with this one, product, but you hope to do more in the future, right?
Yep, that's right. The goal would be to have loads of different brick sets for all sorts of stories, Old Testament, New Testament, everything. So that's what we really would love to do. And the theological core of Bible Bricks as a brand is that God loves us and wants to be with us. And so that's how we want the majority of our products to kind of teach and share that perspective with people. So yeah, that's kind of what we have planned. We have a few new sets that are in the works right now, which I'm really excited about. Got a few New Testament ones that I think will be really neat. I think people will really, really enjoy them. I think they're cool. So yeah, that's what we got going on. And then a few other big, ambitious hopes and dreams as well to add on to everything that are in the works. But
yeah. You've shared a few with me. We can't share anything public on air right now, but I'll just say this. After seeing and hearing of stuff that you are currently cooking up, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see the future of what you're doing with Bible Bricks. I think it's going to be awesome. I think what you're doing is meaningful. This is why we want to highlight people in our church that are creating things, because we need to find different ways to engage with the 21st century human, right? Whether that's kids or adults. And this is one way, it's a conduit to the gospel story for people, right? You talk about on your website how many of us are hands-on learners. There are just things that a pencil and paper can't teach or a sermon can't teach. And again, as a teacher that's tried to solve this puzzle for years, I appreciate people like you that are doing something different that helps, kids find a way to engage. And selfishly for me too, I love, and I found a lot of meaning building the sanctuary. I'm a very visual kinesthetic learner. So that was helpful for me too. That would have been so helpful for me when I was 8 years old, going through some of these topics. So again, super excited for the future of your company. We love what you guys are doing over there. And is there anything else you wanted to share?
Well, I could go on for hours, but we don't have time for that. So yeah, I think that's about it for now. Thank you so much for, having me on and for doing the work you guys are doing. I really appreciate your guys' heart. Really awesome to see.
Yeah. Well, it's also been, again, we've worked together for the past year. And again, I think it's been great to work with you, and we're excited for your future. And again, if you want to buy a set or you want to learn more, they've got a lot of great resources on BibleBricks.com. And you can go there, you can purchase a set. They have Bible study resources, tips for engaging with your kids. If you're parents and looking for ways to engage with your kids in the Bible, a lot of great stuff there on their website. So I encourage you to reach out and see what they're cooking up. So Sean, thank you so much again, and excited for the future.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.